Thank you for staying with Citizen Extra. With me, Lillian Muli. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission on Monday summoned 14 candidates who are alleged to have breached the Electoral Code of Conduct during campaigns, and the hearings are ongoing. Sam Gituku is staying with that story. Sam, how many rulings do we expect today?
That was processed yesterday. 6 of them were heard, but one of them, we're expecting a decision on whether to hear the matter. It is the one involving a ward in Kayole of Nairobi County, and the situation was that the person who has been accused of infringing on the rights of the other candidate was saying that that matter should not be appearing here because it was handled by other bodies, including the Political Parties Disputes Tribunal. And so the IABC commissioners will be ruling on whether they will proceed. But in as far as the other cases are concerned, we should be expecting the ruling for 5 of them, including the Bungoma case of violence involving Governor Ken Lusaka and already here. If my cameraman can pan to them, they are already here. They're sitting next to each other. You will remember that yesterday they were end of June, of course, leading to the death of one person. But the other cases that involve some four members of parliament, parliament candidates, and also involving the other MCAs. Those are also cases that will be heard or determined today, so we'll be expecting to hear what happens. And also now talking about the other matters to do with the concerns that have been expressed by different candidates in as far as national campaigns across different jurisdictions. They will be being heard, but as you were discussing with Commissioner Kurgat, we understand that the commissioners will be arriving here from around 11:30, understandably, handle matters emanating from election campaigns. So we'll be expecting them to be here in a few minutes so that the process can begin. But as you can see from your screen, it is to say that the persons who have been accused of breaching the code of conduct, and also their accusers, or rather the complainants, they are already here waiting to hear what the determination will be made and what repercussions should be in terms of either fine or getting to receive a formal warning by the Committee for Enforcement of the Code of Conduct. Lillian.
Sam Gituku, thank you very much for that update. And Sam, of course, will give us a more detailed report in subsequent bulletins. Operations at Nairobi County health facilities have been paralyzed after more than 200 doctors went on strike. They were citing mistreatment and paid salaries and delayed promotions. The medic strike follows one by nurses who have not been working for the last 3 weeks. Now, the Kenya National Union of Nurses and the Ministry of Health were expected to meet today. The meeting has since aborted. Wilkista Nyabwa will be giving us details on exactly why the meeting aborted. Wilkista?
We are right outside the Ministry of Health at Afia House here in Upper Hill, and this is a place where a meeting was scheduled to take place today. They were set to meet today to discuss how to break the deadlock that has seen away from the informed that this meeting has not taken place, that the PS spoke to the nurses and the nurses union leaders and just told them that he needed a bit more time in order to consult about the demands that they had made and had booked with the nurses met on Tuesday, and they had agreed to come back in order to just speak more about some of the sticking points that had arisen from that meeting. However, this meeting has now been pushed to Friday. We do know that nurses had said on Monday, when they staged a demonstration from Uhuru Park all the way, marching all the way to the Salaries and Remuneration Commission's offices on Gong Road, the nurses said that they would accept nothing less than their CBA, which the SRC has said was negotiated in a way that did not adhere to the guidelines that it had issued, and therefore that was an issue that came up. But with the talks, the nurses had hoped to find a middle ground that would enable them to get their grievances addressed and would also see them return to work, so that public health facilities that have been affected by this strike can begin to operate normally. We have had also that from the talks on Tuesday, one of the issues, the fate of the nurses who are working at national facilities, the national facility, Madare Hospital, and also port, just the port areas where areas such as JKIA or border points where there are health officers, these officers also wanting to know what their fate would be once the CBA was signed, and how they would be affected or impacted by this CBA. Now, this means that they will have to wait yet another day to find out exactly what has been offered and whether it is acceptable to both sides, so that they can return to work, failure to which the nurses' strike would then go into its 4th week. And that is what we are following up on today. Back to you in studio.
Thank you very much, Focus Nyabwa. They're giving us an update on exactly why that meeting aborted between the National Union of Nurses and the Ministry of Health. Before we get into our third topic this morning, I just want to get some insights from our panelists in studio regarding the health crisis in the country, and indeed the culture of industrial action. Industrial action. Just a few days to the polls, how this is likely to impact the ruling government's re-election. With me in studio this morning is Sandra Ochola. She's a governance analyst. I'm also joined by Charles Kip-Kuri, who is a political analyst, and Triza Kangede, also a governance analyst. Starting with you, Sandra, we're seeing a culture of repeated strikes, industrial action. How does this point out, or how does this play out for the government's re-election? The fact that there's still a lot of pending issues, the CBA, this being the continuing narrative from the Nairobi County doctors, and indeed the National Union of Nurses as well.
Thank you, Lillian. I think it's a very unfortunate situation that as a community we can only get results through strikes and through industrial action. And while it is everyone's right to go to court or to engage in strikes or to be part of a labor union, I think we must also look at the consequences of our actions. And you've rightly asked what are the consequences for this kind of activities for the government, and I'd like to look at it from a wider perspective. It's not only the government, the sitting government, but also the other parties that are looking forward to forming the next government. And from what you've seen, from what you've heard, it hasn't attracted as much input or impetus from both parties, as much as it's being conducted in an election period. And we are not seeing political leaders, so to speak, or the governance leaders talking about this issue. And so that begs the question as to who's concern about these issues besides the common mwananchi, besides those who are really affected. Is it an issue of priority for those who are in government or for those who are planning to make the next government? And I've said this before in the previous shows, that the health crisis is nothing new to us. The issues we are seeing today are issues that have been there over time. Limited number of personnel, financial budgetary allocation, so to speak, within the health sector. These are things that continue to plague the health system over time. And what the disadvantage of this is that we are approaching the whole issue in piecemeal, so that we're already forming a pattern. You get aggrieved, you strike a little bit, the issues are addressed piecemeal, then we wait for a few months again, and then it's becoming a circus of some sort. So my recommendation has always been that as a country we need to look into our health issues and ensure that we are living by what the Constitution provides, that every citizen is entitled and has the right to the highest attainable standards of health.
And Charles, I'll be coming to you with the same question. Right now we're getting images from Trans Nzoia County, specifically Kitale, where the NASA team is expected to be. We believe they are there actually. They'll be addressing a series of rallies in that area, and those are the images we're getting from Kitale. Right, we'll be bringing you more images from that part of the country as and when we get them. Charles, you know, we're talking about the culture of industrial action. This is an election period. We're seeing the nurses up in arms. We're seeing the Nairobi County doctors as well up in arms. How does this affect, if at all, the re-election bid of Jubilee? And indeed, we're also not seeing a lot of commentary from either political side on the woes of the health workers.
Thank you very much, Lillian. I think from the point of view of how it affects the political fortunes of the key players in this election, I think it will not really play a significant role. Number one is because of the healthcare issue is not just an issue that affects the national government, it also affects county governments. So we see there is a reluctance from either side, especially opposition, to seize this as a critical message and a talking point to talk to the people, because by doing so, they'll also be exposing their lieutenants, some of them who at the moment actually occupy key positions in the COG at the chairmanship level and also at the Committee for Health in the Council of Governors. But importantly, I think President Uhuru Kenyatta has been a bit quiet on this issue, and I know he silently wishes that these industrial actions are resolved as soon as possible, because the moment they become campaign issues, then really he'll be faced with a very difficult task of explaining to Kenyans what is going on. But we want to look at this with a historical perspective, because almost all major industrial strikes in Kenya where labor has been withdrawn have coincided with a major election, a general election in Kenya. You remember 1997, the strike of teachers, 2012 we had the same, and now we are faced with the same situation. So we are also looking at a situation where unions may be exploiting the elections period to untwist the executive and government to bow down to their demands and also just accept the issues that they want, while just trying to take advantage of what is happening. So the only disadvantage they are getting this time is that the key political players do not seem interested in this, because as we are now going to week 4 of the NASA strike. Nothing much from NASA, nothing much from Jubilee. Of course, we will not talk about it, but we are not seeing so much. So we want to question also the wisdom of devolving critical services like healthcare, a very big bulk of it, to counties, because it is becoming apparent that they don't have the capacity to manage it to the extent that we are not. They'll eliminate these industrial actions, which has now become a recurrent phenomenon in our country. So at the basic level, I do not think this will become an issue that will affect the elections, because again, Kenyans are used to this. They know this is something that has been happening, and the fault lies especially with opposition, because their role is to put government on its toes. They have failed in this one, because if they seize this as a critical message and fashioned a cogent message around this and taken it down to the people, then the first thing we'll have seen is a more responsive government in terms of addressing the issue, but more importantly, it will have become a national conversation that will have been addressed more easily. But critically, we want to ask ourselves in Kenya, should we continue with this circle of withdrawing critical services, including healthcare, and exploiting elections period just to gain as trade unions in Kenya?
Yes. And, you know, Triza, interestingly, you know, 2 points there. The fact that the opposition has not jumped at this opportunity to criticize the government, because, of course, their interests are also at stake, what with the county government also being involved and with health being a devolved function. But then again, you know, the fact that, you know, trade unionists also seem to be taking advantage of the fact that this is an election period.
Thanks, Lillian. As the panelist has said, it's a political time. It is a time where everybody is want to say something politically correct, so that you don't hurt your voters, or you don't say something that you're not supposed to have said. And it's a very sad situation, because we are dealing with health issues here. Health, if today they came to a compromise and they decided that the strike is over and everybody has gotten back to their working stations, some people have died. A child has been left without a mother. A father has been left without a wife, because the nurses are on strike. I think our national policies should be that there's some stuff in the policies that we need to address very thinking the person at the ground, because we find that when the political class right now, they are in campaign, they don't want to say, some of them are saying that the divorce functions are the health sector is devolved, so why are we coming in and we are in the national politics? And as somebody said earlier, every time during elections, many people come, or rather every sector think that's the right time to come, because this is the only time some people will maybe need to listen to you, or you think that your grievances will be heard because somebody probably wants a political mileage. But I'm thinking that we need really to come up with solutions when we're going to the table to see. We are not talking about just today. We need just to sit and come up with policies and solutions to make sure that it is a long-term issue. It's not just at this time, after 2 months again, we are here on the street, the nurses on strike, then the doctors again on strike. We need to come with a permanent solution of what we need to do, and so that we can not gamble with this issue about health.
And want to move away from that conversation now. We do know the IABC is expected to give rulings on 7 cases it listened to yesterday, and the cases involve several candidates who have been cited for breach of the Electoral Code of Conduct specifically, and I think a lot of these issues revolving around hate speech. Want to talk about electoral integrity issues ahead of the general election in August, you know, just discipline during the elections, because there's a rise in charged hate speech. Starting with you, Sandra, you know, there's, as you can see, the IABC currently tackling with breach of electoral conduct cases. Let's talk about the electoral integrity issues, and specifically whether, you know, the rise that we're seeing in hate speech and careless utterances during this campaign period could threaten the electoral process.
I think the IABC is on the right track as far as holding people accountable, something that we didn't quite see with the previous institutions and the previous commissioners, so to speak. But my question is, what is the adequate, if I'm using the right terms, what's the best deterrent mechanism for us as a community as far as electoral violence is concerned, as far as promoting electoral accountability is concerned? Because if indeed we'd say 2007 was deterrence enough to ensure that come 2013 and come 2017 and even 2022, then we want to be witnessing incidences of violence, we want to be witnessing incidences of hate speech, but this doesn't seem to end. So indeed there appears to be some lacuna, and maybe for us as a community and even the institutions charged with ensuring free and fair elections, perhaps they are not doing enough to ensure that moving forward we don't have issues of hate, we don't have issues of violence, we don't have issues of intimidation, and ensuring that our electoral processes have the required transparency and integrity that they deserve. So like I've said, that's a good process in its own, but then if it were left to me, I'd make it more stringent, because you realize what the consequences that have been put for the political parties and the officials. It's either you'll be given a warning letter, it's either you'll be fined a particular amount of money, and at the worst case scenario you'll be barred from buying. The third situation, which many institutions and even the political parties, we saw this during the nomination period, not many people get to that point, and so we are left with the 2 options of a fine, which from what you see and from what you read, most political players are able to give and they are able to pay. You are left with a warning letter, which many of individuals perceive it to be a slap on the wrist. And so I'll ask again, what will be the perfect deterrent mechanism for us as a people, for the community, for the political players, to ensure that we are dealing with issues of hate speech, violence and intimidation during the election in a holistic manner.
And you know, Charles, still on the same, you know, a lot of aspersions cast on the IABC, you know, particularly, and right now NASA actually you know, going to court over you know, the tendering process for the production of the ballot papers. You know, the fact fact that its reputation seems to be getting tarnished, for lack of a better word, and how then free and fair elections will be held in such an insecure environment where, you know, the institution that is supposed to be independent, that is supposed to deliver free and fair elections has been put in doubt and essentially created voter apathy.
Well, I think first of all it is critical for Kenyans, all of us, not only the political leaders but all of us, to realize that we need to support the IBC so that they are able to deliver not only a legitimate election but a credible and a peaceful one. So for us to achieve this, first of all, the Constitution aspired for the IBC to be independent, and it is captured even in the name. So what should come out first of all from the key political players is that they should continuously incorporate into their campaign messages that they are going to support the IBC. And as a nation, I think we have gotten this culture of this propensity to litigation. When an issue comes, we do not consider any other probably mechanism of addressing it. We run to courts, not considering that probably through litigating, then we are also interfering with critical timelines that may then compromise the ability of the IBC to deliver a credible poll. But now, when we are looking at what is faced with us at the moment, I think this is a matter that is also beyond the IBC. The IBC may have chewed too much more than it can swallow, because you can see from its previous actions where it attempted to bar some aspirants, they went to higher courts, and the courts ruled that the IBC had no jurisdiction in handling such matters. So there is a level of confusion in who exactly has jurisdiction in handling matters that relate to electoral offences and just flouting the electoral code of conduct. So as the cases today proceed and probably they get finalized, I'm a bit skeptical, because I know whatever the punishment is going to be meted on these aspirants at all levels, they'll run to courts, and the most likely scenario is that the decision of the IBC shall be overturned, probably on account of lack of jurisdiction or also lack of sufficient evidence, which then brings the question of, a few months ago, the IBC, together with other election relevant agencies, the government launched a multi-agency approach, where they said now this time round they are going to involve all other critical agencies to ensure that they deliver a credible and a peaceful election. And to that extent, we saw institutions like the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the NEC, even KRA, you looked at even the DPP and the NCIC, all of them came together and they said, we are going to work together to ensure that we inject our input into this process to make sure it is done well. But then, look at this, we have around 15,000 aspirants who have been cleared now as candidates to this election. Are you telling me that there is not even one who has a fake certificate? Then that means, what has the NEC been doing at this time? Then the NCIC, there have been issues of hate speech, right, left and center. These people have been cleared, and there is really nothing going on. So in as much as we want to put so much pressure on the IBC, we should also focus attention to other institutions which have also a critical role to play into this, and put them to task in terms of delivering a credible election by playing their part. Because the IBC cannot be the jury and the judge in this.
As we wind up this conversation, Teresa, you know, other institutions, not just the government, that have been put in place to ensure that, you know, that people are managed, and particularly when it comes to hate speech, such as the NCIC, which has for a long time been criticized as a toothless bulldog. You know, have these institutions been efficient in addressing ongoing and past human rights abuses that have led to the election violence that we, you know, for instance, saw in 2007?
Thanks, Lillian. And I don't think so, because we are coming to a situation where everybody, when someone is summoned and told that you have this, we need to correct this is what you said, and you need to appear to the court, whether it is IBC or our normal court, there is that issue that the other people in your backyard, they start saying Nimtwetu. So we find that it has become very hard for anybody to prosecute or bring this indiscipline when it comes to, like, somebody has uttered a word in political rally, because IABC, if I may say that, as much as they really want to bring this sanity, that these are their rules, we IABC, we independent, we want to do this, other players, tomorrow they will go to the higher court and get an appeal, and if IABC rules this and tomorrow the other judge rules this, then it gets to a level where IABC looks like it is toothless, just like any other place that we have seen, that even if they come up with an issue and it needs to be addressed, it can't go anywhere because everybody will rush to the higher court and get this verdict that, okay, you are cleared, you can run, this is our person. And also, you know, we are very good in going to the people's court, where we go and hype the people and we tell them, remember, do you remember what I said yesterday? Look, everyone is saying that I said wrong. All I did is I told you this. But we need to know that we need to be to have integrity such that we can follow whatever we decide to prosecute to the very end. But we have, this is a court, this is IABC, this is another court here. They are all supposed to be independent, but we see that if they were brought in to harmonize whatever they rule, probably we can get a better answer, because we realize that right now there are the cases going on, but tomorrow everybody will move to a higher court just to you know, just to have a different opinion, and everybody by the end of this might just be cleared. So what are we doing?
Thank you for your thoughts. You know, we thank you for your time on Citizen Extra. We are going to be crossing over now to Kitale Town, where ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi is addressing right, I made to understand it's not Musalia Mudavadi that's addressing a rally there, but NASA Deputy Kalonzo Musyoka, who is addressing the rally as we speak. Let's listen.
Kujitokeza kwenda polling station ilikuwa approximately 80%. Safari hii tunawasihi mujitokeze over 95 to 99%. Mutafanya hivyo? Kwa sababu kila kura mmoja wenu tunahitaji kupeleka Jubilee nyumbani. Yule ambaye atabaki nyumbani aenda akasababisha wizi wa mahindi ukaendelea. Mimi nimeona vile nyinyi ni wakulima wa ajabu. Unajua Trans Nzoia mkipata njaa mkamba kama mimi anaanza kufariki. Lakini hapa vile mahindi umelima, ni aibu kwamba serikali ya Jubilee badala ya kumpatia mkulima wa mahindi bei mzuri 4,500, wanaenda huko Mexico, huko anapatia shilingi ngapi? Hata Raila atawaelezea. Karibu under 3,000 shillings. Kwa hivyo wanatajirisha watu wa nchi zingine na huku wanaimarisha ufukara. Kama bei ingekuwa nzuri, hata watu wa Kenya na Trans Nzoia wote wangekuwa na ng'ara. Lakini kwa sababu ya siasa mbaya, sera ambazo ni mbovu, ambazo hazijulikani, haziheshimiki duniani kote, ndio sababu Jubilee mwaka huu lazima waende nyumbani. Kwa hivyo mimi nawasihi mjue kwamba wenye serikali ingawaje tikiti, naomba ndugu wetu unisikilize, ingawaje tikiti ni Raila na Kalonzo, lakini wenye serikali ya wenye kuiendesha ni Weta na Mudavadi. Tunaelewana hivyo? Kwa hivyo sisi tunaweka Raila tu pale mbele, lakini hii ni serikali ya team. Hakuna Raila kuendesha peke yake bila Weta, bila Mudavadi, bila Kalonzo. Na kwa hivyo sisi naonyesha badala ya kuwa na serikali ya watu wawili, hii itakuwa ni serikali ya wananchi wa Kenya. Mahali Weta yuko na Mudavadi yako, si Waluya wote wako hapo. Simba nimesema Jubilee tawe, ama sivyo? Nikisema Jubilee nipe tawe. Jubilee Jubilee. Hiyo tawe nilisikia wakati wa katiba ile ilikuwa mbaya. Na Muluya akisema tawe, mambo yamekwisha. Kwa hivyo mimi nawauliza msijaribu hata nini mtu mmoja wa Jubilee apenye. Hata mimi Wiper nimeona kuna makandidate ya Wiper, sio? Mkinipatia wawili watatu mimi nitafurahi. Si namna hiyo? Kwa sababu ni nyumba moja, hii ni familia moja. Kwa hivyo mimi nawashukuru sana. Kijana mjumbe wenu Chris Wamalwa ni kijana ambaye mimi.
We're getting those images live from Kitale, that's in Trans Nzoia County, where the NASA team is. They're expected to be addressing a series of rallies as they rally area residents to support their bid come the August polls. It's time for trends now as we wind up this hour of Citizen Extra. Salim Swallow will be joining us very shortly, but before that, let's hear from Brian Okop.
All right, a very good morning.